two things, that respect, that mutual respect, and that love and appreciation for each other, it flows. It's just going to flow. And my last thing, Abe, to what you said with humility, yes, it takes humility to submit, and it takes humility to request submission. Because there's a lot of brothers out here on their pedestal about submission that they are not even ready for what real submission really look like. Because submission comes with great responsibility. Someone saying to you, I am depending on your vision. I am dependent on your purpose, your ability to produce, right? 24/7 all the time. A lot of people, a lot of men cannot handle that because they were not raised to function in that capacity. So we can't just talk about one side, which is how the women are raised. Are our men being raised equipped for what they are requesting? That's a whole other part of the conversation as well.
Let's start with submission. That was a pretty interesting topic that we had. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Sorry. So, okay. So we had we pulled up last week. Well, the other week when I spoke with the sisters. Sorry, I had to pull Hanifah. So I was just pulling it right there. Okay. So I asked the sisters, I said, well, you know, why is it that when brothers talk about being submissive, this is the images that come in mind? And even though brothers are not really asking for our sisters to bring food to us on their knees, we are asking for a little bit of, brothers are asking for a little bit of cooperation. And so I want to start with you, Sweet Jones. Okay, because my question is, how is it that whenever you ask a sister, you know, sisters, if they can be submissive, they say yes. But one of the largest complaints that brothers have is that black women refuse to be submissive. Now, when I posed this question to the sisters last week, to an individual, all the sisters said, you know what? Yes, I mean, I have no problem with submissive. So being submissive. So, Sweet Jones, my question to you is, are the sisters being disingenuous when they say they have no problem being submissive? And before you answer that, I want to explain how the format is tonight. Since the brothers didn't get a chance to respond to some of the sisters' comments, they'll be responding to some of your video clips tonight, and then we'll have a free-flowing exchange. So, sisters, feel free to ask questions or jump in after the brother makes a point. Okay, so Sweet Jones, go ahead and answer that. Are the sisters being disingenuous when they say they have no problem being submissive?
Yes, sir. There's a lot of them being disingenuous when it comes to this topic. I think this goes back to the 90s. You know what I'm saying? When all this women's empowerment stuff really just started to pick up, and, you know, all the You Go girls and, you know, we don't want no scrubs and all that old stuff there that was starting to generate back then in the 90s, man. I just think it took on a life of its own, man. It's a lot of women out here, you know, and I have to say a lot because it ain't all. It's a lot of them out here, man. They so big on being their own boss. They don't need a man for this. They don't need a man for that, you know. Yeah. They Fearless Leader Beyonce made the song Me, Myself, and I just for them. You know what I'm saying? It's just a whole lot of that going on out here. So I'm not here to say all women are like that, but I do think in this day and age, this day and time, it's a whole lot of women out here who they only want a man when it's convenient for them. They only want a man on their terms. And they only want to do for a man when it benefits them or when they can see something in return for it. That's what I believe.
That's a heavy charge. I mean, before I go on to the next brother, I want to give the sisters an opportunity to respond to our brother, Sweet Jones. Go ahead. I don't want to point anybody. Anybody can take the floor. If not, I'm going to move on to Rico.
I have some questions.
Sure, go ahead, Q.
The first question, and I guess this would be for you, Abe, because I've heard you say it last week, and you said it again this week. Mm-hmm. When you showed this image, you said that this is the image that we women, this is the image that comes to our mind. Mm-hmm. So I am curious as to what woman, because that's certainly not the image that comes to my mind when I think of submission. I was clear last week that I have no problem being submissive in the right circumstances, in the right situations. So I'm curious to know as to why you all believe that when we hear the word submissive, this is what we think. And I also want to know is why do you outright, well, Sweet just kind of answered it when he said that he doesn't believe that all women refuse. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious to know when someone refuses, what is the example? Because what I just heard Sweet say, he quoted Beyonce's Me, Myself, and I. He said that we were disingenuous. Those songs that he referenced are empowerment songs, and you referenced the empowerment movement. Empowerment is not the absence of being able to be submissive. I am a powerful woman. I am empowered to go after my goals and my dreams and make them happen, but I will be submissive to my man in the right form. Ooh, please let me submit to you in the bedroom. Please let me submit to you when it comes to dealing with our sons, because I can't teach them to be a man. Please let me submit to you because I don't know when the oil needs to be changed on this car. So I'm just curious.
I think our brother in the chat said it well. Let me see if I can pull him up. Arshawn Dave said that it's because so many brothers have heard it being equated to slavery, and I think most of the brothers will agree that that's how they present it. When you're talking about being submissive, they almost act as though you're trying to enslave them. You
can't tell me what to do. You're not my daddy. Right. You ain't the boss of me.
Right. We've all heard the same thing. We've all heard it.
Right. Hey,
who are you?
Excuse me, Hanifah. Before I go on, did you have anything that you want to add? I want you guys to feel free to chime in. This is a more free flowing conversation. It doesn't have to be as structured as normal. So feel free to chime in whenever. I'm going to go over to Rico and ask you because in the video, in the show that we did a few weeks ago, you said that an unsubmissive woman or a woman who's very opinionated, being with a woman like that is like being in a car that has two steering wheels. And when you're trying to drive on the right path, she just all of a sudden, for no reason, just takes over the wheel and steers you all off the cliff. Right now, in a situation like that, how can that be the case if most women are submissive? Rico.
Well, brother, it cannot. I would really like to touch on what Miss Q Barnes just said, because I believe she gave a perfect example of how women think they are submissive when in fact they are not. I believe she gave 3. Oh, please allow me to be submissive in the bedroom. That sounds to me like an opportunity to lay back and let the man do all the work.
No, that's not what I mean. That's what it sounded like. That's your interpretation.
Ma'am, I'm just letting you know what it sounds like to me.
Okay.
Please be the man when it comes to raising son, because I don't know how to teach him to be a man. But in fact, teaching him to be a man would be teaching him how to head up a household. But if he's not the head of the household, he can't show his son how to be the head of the household. And please be the man as pertains to when my oil needs to be changed. I don't think a lot of women realize what you're offering a man is a position to be your slave and your servant, your little indentured servant, and you paint it as, oh, I'm submissive in these select moments.
That sounds like someone who has a very insecure mind. I'm just gonna call it 100 because I was just pulling quick examples, right?
But I just used your examples.
Yeah, you did, right? But there's context missing. I cannot teach a man how to be a man. I have 4 sons, right? And you're right. In order for him to be a man, my sons to grow up as men, they need to see how their father operates in our household and how he runs as the head of our household and how he navigates, right? So when I say I submit, I mean when he deals with them directly as his sons. I make sure I don't do the mommy thing that mommies like to do when they don't know how to submit and that fathers raise their sons. Conversely, when it comes to our daughters and it's time to rear them in womanhood and, they're going through their cycles and things like that, he's going to submit to my knowledge because he ain't never had a menstrual flow. That's why I said this sounds like someone who doesn't understand what submission is. You need to.
Well, that's what I'm saying about you.
No, you're saying that.
I don't think you understand.
That I'm offering an opportunity, and in reality, when 2 people come together, they both come together with their knowledge to bring a household. I don't know the things that my husband knows, right? As far as and he's going to teach me things, and I'm going to submit to learning things, and I'm going to teach him things, and he's going to submit to learning those things too. Submission is an exchange of energy. I'm learning from you. You are learning from me. We are doing this thing together. It is not one-sided. So if you're having someone who doesn't understand submission, then you get these things you're saying like, oh, it's slavery.
Okay. I don't want to fill the airspace with breaking down what submission is. I think everybody understands what submission is.
Obviously, we don't understand because, and I say that there's an obvious difference in understanding of what you consider to be submissive versus what a woman considers to be submissive. And by the way, who defines submissive?
A dictionary.
As a man,
party,
do you as the man get to define what it means to be submissive?
In fact, I believe
who defines it?
The dictionary.
Webster.
Yeah. And what does it say?
Okay. Let's
literally, what does it say?
If we're having a conversation about this, you need to know what it is. So what does it say? That's a very good question. Because if we have 2 different meanings, then we're going to always have a conversation that clashes. And if the object is to stop the war, let's see what the meaning of the word is so that we can both understand it and see where we are.
Okay, well, let's how about we don't do that? How about we...
Now you don't want to do that because it's important to do that. Everybody can come to an understanding and a mutual understanding of what it really means. Because I think what it means from what I gather from what you're saying is that we use it and we almost like it's weaponized to men when we want to, because you said it's kind of like when it's convenient for us, when we want to be submissive, right?
Let me ask you a question.
It goes back to how is that being defined for you?
Let me ask you a question. Is it important that you trip me up or is it important that we come to an agreement?
No.
Because it's
important that we get to the facts. That's what.
Okay. And the fact is that as far as communication between the sexes go, we have a very difficult time finding common ground because I believe that some people focus on tripping other people up with trivial things as opposed to focusing on the problem. So we can just throw out the exact definition of submission and just look at it like this. The other party, the man or the woman, determines what is acceptable. in regards to submission. So, and just like women will determine what is acceptable in regards to provision, right? Because you want a man to provide. You're going to determine what is acceptable in regards to provision. And in exchange for that provision and that protection, that you are going to determine whether or not I'm providing enough of those things, I should be able to determine what is enough or acceptable in regards to submission.
Okay.
So,
and then you roll your eyes, right?
Okay.
So I'm gonna tell you.
Go ahead, and I want to bring Ray in here real quick. Go ahead, finish your point. Go ahead, Doc. Go ahead.
Okay. So again, I agree with you on it should be, we as a couple, we're defining what that means. I agree with you on that, right? Because I think what has happened is, as in the eyes of man, is that it's all the woman is supposed to submit. So you want to use the Bible verse when it's appropriate, when you feel like it, but we'll go by the definition. I simply asked, what was the definition of submission? Because not one definition that I read, does it state anything about a woman being submissive to a man? That's not what it says. So when we're talking about submission, if I can finish.
Okay.
When we're talking about submission, I think it's important that you and your partner, whoever you're with, y'all define what that means, what that truly means for the two of you. Because what it means for me and mine, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's that for you and yours. Right, Ray?
Ray, can you hear? Hey, Ray, I see it's getting a little spicy. It's getting a little spicy.
I have a question for the ladies on the panel.
Okay.
I would like.
Jay, so go ahead. Ask your question, and then I have a question for you. So go ahead.
Of the races and the ethnicities of women all across the world, America and other countries, how come Black women are the only groups that you have to literally define the word of submission? Explain to me how come Black women are the only group that if you just say the word submission, that it turns into a PeachDr. Explain to me why that is. I need an honest answer, because I've never gotten an answer to this question. Because it's easy, every man on this panel, and I'm sure every Black man in America, and I specify America, is very careful with what they say about submission, because we all hear a Black woman in the back of our mind getting upset and turning into an argumentative Black woman. Explain to me why that is.
So I think you are taking it to a place of history, because historically it's been in a family. It's like, woman, you're going to do what I say. Woman, you're going to bow to me. Woman, you're going to, it was not treated with, submission was not viewed as a sign necessarily of respect, and how it was given, how Black men treated their partners, their women, their wives, or whatever you want to call it. That wasn't the case. So it became to be an abusive type of situation, not in a loving type of situation.
Says who?
There's a difference.
Says who?
She's answering your question.
You asked me.
You asked her why. She's giving you the answer to why.
Where are you getting this from? Yes, that's what I'm. Is this the color purple? The color purple. I knew it.
That's a perfect example.
I knew it.
That's a horrible example.
It's a perfect example of why you get those responses. We're not saying that all women think that way, but you asked a question as to why in America, right? Well, in America, historically, and the color purple has some, it's a story that it historically, and I'm sorry, Dr. Peach, I didn't give the mic back, but that really actually happened. That is the history of a Black woman, woman in America. Are you kidding me? My grandmother was married off at 13.
Okay, all right, yeah.
We're not gonna play that game.
Home.
My grandmother was married off at 13 and didn't get past the 6th grade education because of submission. So,
who married her off?
Wait a minute. I'm trying to get down to answers to some questions.
That's the answer to the question because of the historical. Because for women, the historical.
I have several things to say to these things.
Can I address one more thing? So what I said was it became an abusive thing. It doesn't come from a place of love when you're asking or wanting someone to be submissive, a woman to be submissive.
How do you know where it's coming from?
It becomes like, oh, if you don't do what I say, I'm gonna beat you up. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And I know I'm not lying. And y'all gonna sit here on this panel and try to pretend like you don't know what you're talking about. Because you got those same people.
She knew where it was coming from. She asked me the question.
In your family that have done that to people in your family. So we're not going to sit on this panel and act like we don't know any better. And what I'm saying is a bunch of bull, because it's not.
Okay, so I don't know what you're saying to me.
You're saying that if a man provides for a woman, he's going to automatically beat her up?
Did you hear me say that? That's not what you heard me say, but next. Keep going.
I'm asking you, is that what
you didn't hear me say that? You
okay.
didn't hear me say that.
I got a quick question for Ray, and then I got to try to get Hanifah back on. Ray,
hey Hanifah.
Ray, what do you think it is about brothers that makes it easy for other races of women to submit to black men, except the women we love the most, which is black women? I want you to answer that question, and I want you to share your peach cobbler story.
Please
answer that question and share your peach cobbler story.
Oh my God! Well, first of all, I like to say that this is why guys like Tyler Perry and movies like The Color Purple are so dangerous to us.
I literally cannot.
She literally took a movie. I didn't say no name. I didn't say no name. A hit dog or holler. I didn't say no name. A hit dog or holler.
I'm not a hit dog.
I didn't say one name. I didn't even say one name. I said she.
But you said she, right? But
I didn't say no.
I did.
You ain't even let me.
But whether I gave you vision or not, it was right along lines with what she said, because historically it has been abusive. It became abusive.
How old are you?
That man hasn't interrupted y'all one time.
Not one single time. Not one time. Do you see that? I ain't even finished one sentence. This is why I believe that movies like Color Purple and producers like Tyler Perry are so dangerous, because our women literally take whatever movie, fiction or nonfiction, and they apply this to life. This is life to her. She said The Color Purple. Are you kidding? You have applied life to The Color Purple. And listen, I've been alive 41 years. I have not seen consistently a lot of times men just going around beating women up for nothing. I have not seen it. Somehow, all the black women have seen this happen all the time. I have not seen this happen. It's just, this tells me how dangerous that type of stuff is, because our women, they don't take what actually happens. They take something like The Color Purple, a made-up movie by a white man, and apply that to real life. You can't argue reality when something like that happens. It's like, what do? It's like you making up a story.
Purple. Yeah. Alice Walker wrote The Color Purple.
Well, I mean, that's not much better. Alice Walker was also.
Okay, that's the point you wanted to make. I'm just saying
it wasn't Steven Spielberg. I'm just pointing out that Alice Walker. I'm just for the sake of being correct. Alice Walker.
In fairness, Q, if it had been Steven Spielberg who wrote it instead of Alice Walker.
It doesn't matter. He said by a white man. It wasn't written by him. That's all I'm saying.
Just let him be. Well, you're right. Okay, my bad. You didn't take fiction from a white man. You took it from Alice Walker. That's better. That's what I meant to say. I didn't mean to say it incorrectly, because if I'd have said the wrong person, it doesn't make it improved. I'm sorry. I don't know. You stopped it just to say that.
I want you to go ahead and share your story, because you haven't gotten a chance to answer the question. I know it's a little bit fiery. Okay. We've been itching to get at each other, and but I want you to share your story, and then after you share your story, answer the question: what do you think it is about brothers that makes it easy for all races of women to be submissive to black men, except the women that we love the most, which is black women. Please share your peach cobbler story. And then after that, I want to bring Hanifah in. Go ahead, Ray.
My mom came to visit here several months ago. I don't know how many months exactly, but she came to visit several months ago, and she pretty much just popped up. So it was company here. And she wasn't expecting this. I've been a bachelor for a very, very long time. She just automatically assumes nobody will be here because of just how I live. This time it was company when she popped up. All right. And it was of the fairest skin company. Okay. Now, my mom is I ain't submitting. I ain't no slave. She's all those things. She was probably the first generation that started this mess. She is just like that, right? 63-year-old woman. She's going to struggle for the rest of her life because it's just how it. She came to visit and she was surprised, but we, blah, blah, blah. I ended up telling my company, I'm hungry. I just said, I'm hungry. I didn't have to say I'm hungry. And I didn't have to cuss. I didn't have to fuss. I didn't have to whoop nobody color purple. It wasn't no color purple ain't going on. I just said, I'm hungry. Guess what happened? She got up, went to the grocery store, purchased fresh product, put together a home-cooked delicious meal, put it on a plate, brought it to me, sat there and waited till I finished eating it, took the plate back to the kitchen and wet a wash rag, came and wiped my hand while I sat there, brought me peach cobbler, I ate it, cleaned up everything. I ain't moved out my spot. I was looking at the Astros game. My mama said, that was disgusting. That's what my mama said. That was disgusting.
Right. And so
now this is a woman. I love her, but unfortunately, she is a victim of what she's been taught, and she's gonna pay the price for it later on because she's 63. She's not gonna be able to maintain a man because this is what she's been taught, and she taught my sister this, and my sister will teach her daughter that, and the line is gonna go on. This is just going to continue to split us up more and more and more because there's nothing more comforting than a woman that would do something like that to a man. There's nothing more calming than a woman that will do something like that to a man. And you know what? At the end of the day, those are the women that will die with a man.
That's so sweet.
We see how sweet you are in about 30 more years. I mean,
oh, okay. And I want to bring Hanifah in. Hanifah, I don't know how much, I know you were in and out. I don't know how much you heard, but I want you to share your thoughts with the panel.
You want my thoughts and submission?
Right. I mean, because I thought, honestly, I thought all of you had pretty good answers when it came to submission. And so part of what I was saying was that, everyone, when you ask most sisters, they seem to have no problem with submission. But yet one of the biggest complaints that brothers have is a problem with submission, especially by those who look like us, right? And so Ray was sharing his peach cobbler story of someone who was other than us, and he received more submission from them than he would, one of our sisters. Right. And so you didn't get a chance to speak. So I wanted to bring you in. If this is an issue you want to pass on, we can go on. I'll open up to the rest of the panel before we go on to the next segment.
Yeah, I think like on the last panel, I think I expressed my feelings around submission. It's not a conversation that I tend to really engage in. I think it's I think when two people have mutual respect for each other and trust for each other, submission is not even a conversation that needs to be tabled. I think it kind of naturally flows. I think that this is such a hot topic within the Black collective right now is because we don't like each other. We don't trust each other. There's a lot of that, and there's some historical context. I think when we extract it from its historical context, then all we do is pick and choose what we want that feeds our narrative, and we got to be careful with that. But to answer Ray's question, as far as why are we the only culture? I mean, you have to consider the history of a culture. If you go to certain cultures, there will be certain behaviors that you see within those cultures, and you might compare it to, let's say, just American or Western culture. And you may ask the question, like, what kind of weird shit is this, you know? And when you hear the history of that culture, then you're able to put it in its proper context and understand it better. For the Black collective, for us, our relationships with each other is just really damaged. And I think it's because our relationships with ourselves is really damaged. I think there's a lot of lack of self-love within women, Black women and Black men. And Ray, a lot of it is inherited. Just in your story, a lot of it is inherited. Mothers and grandmothers pass that down just like their favorite recipe. The whispers in the airs, you know, you go get yourself something, you don't depend on any man, that comes from somewhere. But nonetheless, it is inherited. Whether it is inherited directly by actual someone saying it to you or just inherited through observation, because we all understand how biology works in connection with our environment and how that works on a cellular level. We are constantly taking in information, and our cells are constantly adjusting themselves to that environment, and eventually we become what we consume or what we partake in. So that is a big part of what we're seeing in the Black collective. I'm more interested in how we fix it, because it is a reality. Now, we can sit and talk about it all day and try to decide whose fault it's for. We can do that all day. I mean, yes, you know, but I'm more interested in how do we fix this. I think that submission is way, way, way at the bottom of the priority list for us. And I'm just being honest. I think if we get some other things in place and we work on some other things, I think the submission piece will naturally come to fruition. You cannot have submission in our community with us without trust.
Yeah,
it will never happen.
I think you can also never have submission without humility. I think there's a certain amount of humility that you need to have to be submissive, right? And I think we also have to. I know that some people are opposed to gender roles, but you have to understand that relationships and marriages are a dance, right? Both people can't lead. When we're dancing, one has to lead and one has to follow, right? It's almost similar to the story that Rico had, man. Two people can't drive. You know, if I'm trying to turn left and you trying to turn right, you gonna kill us in traffic, right?
And two people can't lead at the same time. This is the issue I have with the submission conversation and this idea of there's only one leader. That's a load that I think is really, it's delusional to think that any man or any woman comes fully equipped to cover every single thing in a relationship. It is ridiculous. And I'm sorry, because that's why I don't engage in the conversation, because I think it's really adolescent to think that way. The correct way would be, okay, I'm a man, I'm stronger, this is what I do, whatever that is. Or I might be smarter, or I might have more knowledge in this area. But there may come a time where you might have to take a back seat for your woman to step up, because she might just be more equipped in that area. That is relationships. Relationships is harmonious. It's supposed to be harmonious. It's supposed to be a dance. It's supposed to be your turn, my turn, our turn, not, oh, you're a guy, you need to do this. And I think that's a lot of pressure that I feel, this is just my opinion, I think it's pressure that a lot of men can't handle. I think that's why they're dying earlier than us. Like, there's so many things that I could say a lot on this, but like I said, find someone that's in alignment with you, and this is never a conversation. Because you guys will love each other, you guys will respect each other, and your relationship, if you have those two things, that respect, that mutual respect, and that love and appreciation for each other, it flows. It's just gonna flow. And my last thing, Abe, to what you said with humility, yes, it takes humility to submit, and it takes humility to request submission. Because there's a lot of brothers out here on their pedestal about submission that they are not even ready for what real submission really look like. because submission comes with great responsibility. Someone saying to you, I am dependent on your vision. I am dependent on your purpose, your ability to produce, right? 24/7 all the time. A lot of people, a lot of men cannot handle that because they were not raised to function in that capacity. So we can't just talk about one side, which is how the women are raised. Are our men being raised equipped for what they are requesting? That's a whole other part of the conversation as well. I'm going to stop there.
Okay.